Hello and welcome to episode 52 of Around the Lens. I'm your host, David J. Murphy. Joining me tonight are Rick Friedman and Ron Hamilton. Marc Serota, I guess, cannot be on the show tonight, and Zach is out doing a project. So Ron has, as always, filled in and is on the show. So we're going to talk about all kinds of cool, fun stuff tonight. But for our audience members who may have never tuned into the show or may not know who you are, panelists, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourselves? Starting with you, Rick.
Hi, I'm Rick Friedman, and I'm a photojournalist based in Boston. And I'm lucky enough to travel around the country and to a lot of foreign countries doing stories. We also do a lot of commercial work and work on a bunch of movies. And in addition to that, we teach location lighting workshops, which are hands-on lighting workshops that we do across the U.S. and do them in Canada. And we have a big one coming up in New Jersey in a couple of weeks. And the one after that is in mid-January in London.
Wow.
So, kind of a variety of different things that we're lucky enough to do.
Awesome. You're a regular jet setter.
There you go.
So you mentioned movies. What movies have you worked on?
At the moment, I'm working on a series of movies for a German production company.
Oh, cool.
So, if you speak German, they're terrific.
I'll learn German so that I can enjoy them.
It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun doing movie work. You know, I thought being a photojournalist involved a lot of hurry up and wait. Movie making brings it to a whole new level of hurry up and wait.
Wow. So are these German language films, I'm guessing?
German language, right? The ones that I just wrapped are German language films.
Do you speak German, or they work with
not a
you
word.
on that?
So you really have to pay attention to figure out when and where you can get your photographs. The one we just wrapped, our lead character was a photographer, so I was not only the set photographer and the advertising photographer for it, but I also was the technical advisor on the film. And every time the lead character picked up her camera, I actually shot the photographs. So it was a terrifically fun. It was a really fun project, and got to work with some terrific European actors.
That's great. Did you get a cameo role, like a walk-on?
I actually did. Yes. Yeah, I think this was my third cameo role. When they need somebody to play a photographer, they say, Rick, just get in front of the camera and be yourself.
Nice.
And then I don't know what to do. Behind the camera, I'm great. In front of the camera, not so much.
What I always thought was funny, right? I worked in New York City as a paparazzi, and I would shoot movie sets. And it was always hilarious to me when I'd shoot a movie set that featured paparazzi, because they were obviously actors who were using cameras that were given to them for the shoot that had no memory cards in them, of course, because they didn't want. Or they
just given the cameras,
right? Or the flash, to make the flash, and that was it. And it was just always interesting to be like, hey, you got all these people out here who'd love to get the access and shoot that picture, but nope.
Yeah, this one I actually, before we started shooting the film, I actually spent quite a bit of time with the lead character, working with her to teach her how and what I would do. So when they filmed her, she actually looked like she knew what she was doing.
Cool. And we owe that to you. Awesome. All right. And Ron, although many people should know you by now, considering how often you've been on, please tell us who you are.
Sure. My name is Ron Hamilton. I'm here in Honolulu, Hawaii, and I am the foreign correspondent for Philippines television station Net 25 for the Eagle News.
Wow. Awesome. Great to have you on. Anything new happened to you since the last time you were on, like 2 weeks ago?
Wow, so many things happen here day to day. It was sunny and warm today, and it's sunny and warm yesterday. I expect to be sunny and warm tomorrow. I might go to the beach and get a suntan.
I can send you some cold rain if you'd like.
We could use some, you know.
Awesome. All right, well, we got a great show for you all tonight. If you've never heard of the show before, Around the Lens is a live weekly visual journalism roundtable podcast featuring experts in the world of visual journalism, talking about news, topics, and gear related to our craft. Tonight, we got a lot of great topics. We're not going to be talking about Castro's death. Sorry if you tuned in for that topic. We're actually going to talk first about Donald Trump, the ever-present reality star turned president-elect, has made news recently with regard to, of course, the media. You know, he had all the media over at his house, talking about the coverage they did on him. And they also talked about the photographs they took of him. Specifically, he was unhappy with the photographs that featured his double chin. So he basically told the media, hey, how about you take more flattering or feature more flattering photographs of me? So what I want to talk about with you guys is, have you photographed Trump before? Is he an easy person to photograph? And, in general, when you're photographing a celebrity or a politician or whoever, are you looking to try and take flattering photographs, or are you just going to take the photographs you're going to take? Do you take out the photographs that may not be flattering, or do you give them to your editor anyways? Rick, why don't we start with you? You've covered a little bit of Trump.
Yes, I've photographed quite a bit of Trump. In answer to the question, do you look for flattering or unflattering pictures? No. You cover an event. And you go and you try to accurately portray the event. I mean, you try to look for different pictures from time to time. Because especially with Trump, generally most Trump events, if you went to cover them, you were in the back of the room and you were shooting general views with a 500 millimeter lens. And either there were vertical flags or there was one big horizontal flag. And there was a lot of light straight on. Audiences weren't lit. It was interesting, though, it always struck me that they would light the front of the stage, but they never lit his hair. And I could understand why they might not want to light his hair. But, of course, when he was standing under a fluorescent light, it gave you interesting color. There was very limited access to the buffer. Early on with him, there was quite good access. I mean, you really could, get there. And he always knew how to play us. I mean, one of the earliest times I covered him, he was working in the crowd, and a couple of us, unfortunately, were on the wrong side of him, meaning one half a step behind him. And I remember him just getting in close to the crowd and letting us get by so we could get that front shot. As a matter of fact, there's a picture on my website of Trump from the event that I'm talking about, where he let us get by. So he always knew how to use the media to his advantage. And so it went from that, and then, as things really started to go, we started going to events, and all of a sudden we were literally corralled in. You would get there, and you were in the back of the room, and you would have volunteers sort of guide you. This is where you can go. General public could get to them. We were there with these enormous lenses. So, are you trying to take good pictures, bad pictures? You're trying to cover the event. But after a while with him, it all kind of looked the same.
Yeah.
So, yes, please.
I was gonna, you talk about being restricted to the pen, as many of the, photographers, broadcasters talked about it. Did anyone ever think about, not pretending not to be journalists and just?
Sure, absolutely. A lot of people did it. There were, I think the best picture from New Hampshire primary night was shot by a photographer, John Hill, who, went in as general public. And only had what looked like a toy camera. It was a terrific little camera. And we're on the back on the riser. And, John was willing to take the chance about whether or not he was going to get thrown out.
Right.
And, it's a big guy, and he just stood in the second row and was able to shoot it up close with a wide-angle lens, and he made a better picture. But there was no reason why other photographers couldn't have made the picture. I mean, it was constantly, as we all know, a battle with Trump.
Yeah.
We were, I don't know what it was, but it was always our fault. Remember, one of the pictures that I had that ran double truck in Time magazine was a picture that Trump had just riled the crowd up and said how horrible the media was. And he kind of told them all to turn around and point at us, which from my standpoint, that's one of the times being on the riser was a good place to be.
Yeah.
You actually made the picture. And that was still at the point where they were rotating people in and out of the buffer.
Okay.
And I have to admit, I didn't cover him really much after the convention. I kind of felt like all the pictures started to look the same. So it went from lots of access to very, very little access.
Right.
No.
Ron, I know you didn't have any experience shooting Trump, but any thoughts on, Trump's sort of ire at the media with regard to his image, or have you ever had any experience having to, obviously trying to find a flattering photograph of a subject or angle?
Now, the way it works here in Hawaii, the only politicians I've shot here are local people, the mayor, state senators, things like that. our beloved president-elect has not made it to the islands yet, and if he does, I'd certainly like a chance to photograph him with a long lens from the back of the room as he prefers. Only proper angles allowed, and so on and so forth. No, like Rick was saying, you cover the event, you shoot what you shoot, you send it in. In my case, when I was working for a newspaper, my photos were edited by somebody there at the paper. I just sent what I shot. They would pick what they wanted. I never, well, I guess I could select which ones I wanted to pick from. But apart from that, no, we cover the event. You get it. At one point, I did tell you, they did tell me to stop taking so many pictures of politicians, though. They said, you know, when you cover the event, it's good if you want to get a shot or two of the politician, but give us more of the other people, because we've seen these guys too much. So I wonder if we'll see too much of Donald Trump, and the newspapers want to see other things instead as well.
I don't know. I mean, I hope to move on from the news cycle that is constantly surrounded by Donald Trump, but every week it's like, hey, here's a new tweet that disgraces the office of the president-elect or whatever, you know, whatever crazy thing he says. It's, well, he's more than a showman. Well, yeah, even if it means bald-faced lying, but you know, whatever. What I was going to say, so when you were shooting like the politicians, I mean, did you try to get a shot or an angle that, I mean, obviously you cover it as you cover it, but did you ever think about the shots, or, you know, in terms of making those selects, did you ever think about the look of the person, or you, like you said, you just submitted everything?
No, I didn't submit every last shot. No, but what I do when I'm shooting the politicians is I want to shoot a good picture. Whether that means that it's a flattering picture or not is irrelevant to me. It's just, is the picture good? Am I doing a good shot that shows accurately what was going on at the event? We have the mayor giving a speech at, whatever, the inauguration or whatever. And I'm there, you know, there's a crowd and there's the mayor, blah, blah, blah. Let's take a picture and let's make it a good one. But I didn't purposely try to get his mouth open drooling or something like that. Or conversely, I didn't, he looks so dynamic in this one. Unless that was a really great shot, but it wasn't my purpose to only get dynamic hero-looking shots of the mayor, for example.
Right.
Yeah,
a variety, sir.
Sorry. So, you know, I mean, when you go and you cover a lot of politics, I'm sure you find this, Ron, you're looking for the different picture. Otherwise, it just becomes another picture of a person at a podium. So is there an angle that you can get that, you know, maybe you can put one of those lights directly behind the head and get nice backlighting, or, you know, get nice light on the subject as they interact with the crowd? You know, can you get the expression of the people, you know, reacting to the politician? And if you can put them both in one frame, then maybe you can tell more of the story. You know, with Trump, that from time to time could be done, but it certainly wasn't overly easy to get it.
Right. You need to give a lot more opportunity for variety, and if you're shooting the same thing over and over again.
You know, there was a period that they literally locked us into the pen until he was out of the building. I mean, there's one time I remember where, you know, he had left, and we're sitting on the riser filing, and this volunteer yells from the front of the room, "You may release the press." It's like, you can't hold us hostage. And there were certainly discussions between journalists who said, I need to leave now. He's gone. I got to get out of here and file. And agents preventing him from leaving the building.
Oh my God.
Though the building was no longer needed to be secure. And certainly while he was out of the room, they would lock you down. That, from my experience, seemed to have led up later in the campaign. That they didn't quite lock you in the pen as much. And, you know, you could from time to time, when he was working the crowd, go around the outer edges and, you know, maybe go up on the stands or something and look down and try to get a picture of him interacting with people, which obviously makes the politician look a lot more human.
Sure.
So, but it was certainly the most interesting campaign I've ever covered, and this was my 11th one. So, Ronald Reagan was a lot more easy to cover than these guys.
Yeah. How have previous, you know, election cycles or previous candidates treated the press at events. So I mean, was Trump obviously the most restrictive, or have others been similar?
Yes. There's just no hesitation. Yeah. I mean, depending on who the candidate was, I mean, a lot of the candidates like the press. They like the banter with the press. Candidates who I might not have agreed with politically, we got along with fantastically.
Right.
They were, just by far, this was the most restrictive. The whole thing, right from the beginning, didn't have the feeling of a lot of the past campaigns. Granted, we started out with 27 candidates, and this is where we ended.
Yeah. And you never had a candidate ever try to vilify you or turn the audience against you.
No. No matter how, even if we deserved it.
Yeah.
Or, excuse me. The writers deserved it, not the photographers.
No. They're innocent.
Yeah. But no.
So what do you think this spells? Well, I mean, based on your experience in the campaign, what do you think this kind of spells for the future of a Trump presidency with regard to his interactions with the media?
I like covering presidential politics until they get in, and then I'm done for the most part. I mean,
right.
I do the White House here and there. I think that there'll be even less than there was under Obama, and certainly, there were terrific pictures that came out of the Obama White House, done by Pete Souza, who I just think is a terrific photographer. But you didn't see a whole lot of other behind-the-scenes stuff from too many other people.
Right.
It was a lot of walking to the helicopter. It was a lot of podium shots, and I think with Trump, you'll see even less. I mean, other campaigns you'll see pictures come out from the campaign at least. Bob Kennedy did some terrific pictures of Hillary and Bill. I mean, so even if not a lot of photographers got behind the scenes, at least there was stuff that came out. Mm-hmm. Now, they controlled the message. It was their photographer.
Right.
But with Trump, there's nothing behind the scenes other than maybe occasional picture of, him and his daughter sitting there.
That's right. Bringing his daughter into high-level meetings with foreign leaders.
As with Hillary's campaign, which started out restricted, towards the end, you had really very good access. I mean, you couldn't get behind the scenes. You weren't getting in the motorcade with her, or at least you weren't getting in the car with her. She had a traveling press pool. They were on the plane with her. They flew around the country with her. If she arrived at the event, they arrived at the event. Trump had a very limited press pool, and they weren't on his plane. They were on a chase plane, and you got to remember the journalistic organizations are paying for these airplanes.
Wow.
If you're on a campaign's plane, just like if you're on Air Force One, you get charged for travel. Generally, the way it's done with airplanes is in motorcade vehicles is you take all those costs, whatever it costs for the plane and everything else involved with the journalist and the food, and then you divide it by the number of people. So if you're flying around on a large plane and there are only 30 people who are paying for it, that's like, flying on a bad plane for twice first class.
Oh, man.
I never traveled with Trump, but I did hear of stories where they would pay to fly, and then somehow the handlers, something would go wrong, and they would miss the speech. Then they go back on the airplane and pay to fly somewhere else. And I have to admit, in my career, that happened a couple of times when we were on separate airplanes, that we did miss events.
Mm-hmm.
So, but anyway, he was not the most fun campaign. There were certainly a lot of them that were fun. But
you talk about the behind the scenes access with Obama and Trump, and were there past presidents that were like super duper allowing photographers behind the scenes that you know of?
When they ran, you got access, and generally once they got there, it became much more restrictive. Of course, they had a few more things to do at that point. You'd like to hope they were doing something else,
like running the country.
But it's interesting. I mean, Clinton would go on vacation, and we photographed everything.
Yeah.
I mean, wherever he went. I mean, he wouldn't sit around very long. He was constantly running around, and it was sort of fun chaos on Martha's Vineyard, covering him, whacking golf balls and going to bookstores. And Obama would go to the vineyard, And the first day they might let you do a little golf. And then the rest of the time, if you were in the tight pool, you basically rode around in motorcades and very rarely ever made a picture. You'd spend days without ever actually seeing him, which was really expensive and a tad frustrating. So he would go to play golf, and they'd drive us out to a place where, where they store the extra sand for the sand traps. And then we'd be in a motorcade in vans, and they had a press bus, but it couldn't be in the motorcade because it was too big. Mm-hmm. So we'd get there, and a few minutes later our bus would show up, which was the rolling press room, and you'd sit there in this sand pit for 4 hours. Then you get back in the motorcade and go back up island where the motorcade would break off. He'd go out to the house, and you might not see him. If there was a press conference, you'd go, and I did one press conference. It was terrific. It was a presidential press conference, and there were like 15 people there. There were all these empty chairs and a couple of reporters and a few cameras in the back, and the president came out and sort of addressed the nation with virtually nobody sitting in front of him. It was kind of interesting to see, as opposed to, the normal scene of a presidential press conference. So anyway, I think, from my, limited knowledge, but I think that with Trump, that the Washington people will have even less access than they have right now.
Right. But from what you're telling me, it sounds like we really shouldn't be surprised. Like, this is what presidents do if they want to have a note of privacy.
Yeah. But then he'll have, the press will be in close quarters if he wants to insult them.
Right, of course.
There was the discussion the other day between the network heads and all the anchors and our president-elect, which didn't sound like it went all that well.
Yeah. Okay. Ron, any last thoughts before we move on?
No, I agree. It's going to be a lot of excitement with Trump as president. I can't wait for the great shots.
You're going to make it, Ron.
There'll be like one shot.
Ron, when Obama came to Hawaii, did you go cover him?
It's a funny thing. Because I was working for the paper during the time of Obama's presidency, I was never assigned any of his visits. And then once I was out of the paper, and he would come here, my TV station never sent me to cover anything either. Oh. So I never got a chance to shoot a president. Only local politicians.
Phrasing.
I know, photograph. Pardon me. Photograph a president. That's why I shoot like this. I don't shoot with any other motion. That's how I shoot. Yeah.
So are you shooting straight television now?
Yeah, all I do is TV now. Yeah, mm-hmm. I do still photographs too, but we use that for like B-roll purposes, for like Ken Burns effect type stuff. Uh-huh. But mostly I'm a correspondent, so I'm in front of the camera most of 50-50 probably, because we have other correspondents. I shoot them, or they shoot me, or I shoot myself, or they shoot themselves.
Terrific.
Yeah, mostly video these days. It seems to be the way of the world. Video. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and move on to our next topic. This evening, we're talking about Time, the magazine. It picked its top 100 most influential photos of all. Wait for it.
Copy of it right here.
Time. Look at that, man. What is that? That's like some sort of physical manifestation of the internet. There.
It can actually hold. It's awesome.
What? Man, that's great. I heard about those back in the day. Printed in magazines. That's crazy. I'm actually looking at the website version of this, which is actually pretty neat because besides,
I'm going to pull it up on one of the other computers also.
Yeah, absolutely. Besides being obviously just a very well done interface, some of the photographs have video or audio stories attached to them. So, for instance, the first one that's featured on the website is the photograph of the milk drop. And there's a cool little 5-minute mini documentary about that photograph, which is attached to the website. So I definitely recommend if you see the magazine on newsstands, go check it out. But also just go check out this website. I think both are really well done. What do you guys think of these photographs? Do you think Time did a good job in their curating of what they chose as the 100 most impactful photos of all time? Ron, why don't you go ahead and start?
Yeah, no, I really love the selection Time made for the story. I agree with, I agree. You got 100 photographs. You're going to cover a lot of stuff there. I can't think of anything I'd rather stick in there. I can't think off the top of my head. I looked through the photographs, and the one thing that really got to me was, wouldn't it be great? I'm just throwing this out here. I don't know if this is at all possible, but wouldn't it be great if we could get one of the photographers that shot one of these photographs on the show sometime soon? Wouldn't that be a really marvelous thing?
Well, Ron, isn't one of your photos included in this?
Oh, well, I think mine didn't make the cut, actually.
Oh, so close.
The photograph I took of the local...
if they had done 101,
local
yours
ice cream
was right
stand
there,
opened.
right?
Yeah, right. That might have been.
What do you think?
I think I'm gonna try hard. What's that?
You're gonna try hard? Maybe the next time.
No, what I mean is I'm gonna try hard to see if I can locate one of the photographers to see if I get him to be on the show sometime.
All right, great. Well, we'll look forward to that. Yeah, let's get as many as possible. Do a mega show on people who've been picked to be on the top 100 most impactful photos of all time. And I gotta say, this is definitely most impactful photos. These aren't the best photos of all time. They're just the most important, or at least Time's interpretation of important. But I tend to agree also with their choices. Rick, how about you? What do you think of their Time's choices here?
I think most of them are absolutely terrific. And it's very cool to look at this, and I can probably say I actually know a couple of the folks whose photographs are in there, who are amazing photographers. But it's amazing to look at this incredible body of work from the beginning of our profession.
Yeah, absolutely.
Start with the different things. I mean, I agree with virtually. There are a couple that I might quibble over, but I think it's just an amazing, what an incredible undertaking.
Yeah. I think a lot of these photographs are ones we've all seen before. Many very iconic photos, but there's a lot in here I've never seen before, or are coming from major events, but I just had never seen the photograph. And I love the context that they put each photo into by describing why it's impactful. I think that's really important.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite? Any favorites from the bunch, or ones that stick out to you?
I really like that one with the guy in front of the tanks. I like that one. I think it was in China or something. Yeah, I don't know. I'm going to find out who shot that, and I'm going to see if they want to be on the show. I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that today, as a matter of fact. I'm going to see if I can make that happen.
Heck, they might be on the show next week.
Yeah, they might. Let's see if I can do it for next week. Let's try that.
Man, that Jeff Widener guy, I don't know. He's a tough get.
Well, we'll see. Let's send an email and see what happens.
Stay tuned to this channel next week. We could have Jeff Widener on. I'm just saying, dropping that hint.
Possible, right?
Rick, were there any photographs specifically that was your favorite from this bunch?
I gotta tell you, for the most part, there's a lot of just wow. Pretty much all the way through it, and obviously most of these I have seen. It's great to be reminded of them. Stanley Foreman's picture, which I remember when he took it. It's just, I look at that picture and...
Which one is that?
It is the fire escape. The woman...
Oh, sure, yeah.
And, that, and, talking to him about long time ago, but, about shooting that, and it's just a moment in time. A split second.
Yeah.
And I mean, they're just an incredible bunch of pictures. I'm trying to think what else. I mean, Knockaway's stuff is amazing. Her stuff is amazing.
Absolutely.
They're just, and then other ones are moments, I mean, the one in reading the story about the cowboy picture, which, you read the story and it's like the guy whose name is on it didn't take the picture. That one bothers me. That comes down to, he copied a photograph, chopped it up, and then put his name on it and sold it for a lot of money. That I have an issue with. But most of them are truly unbelievable pictures. Kareemster's picture of Michael Jordan is just a terrific photograph.
Well, let me ask you this. Are there any photographs that you have liked to have seen on this list that didn't make the cut, that you thought, should have been here that aren't here?
I don't know.
Besides your own.
Not mine. Definitely not mine. I think, being a Bostonian, I think John Tamaki's picture of the bombing was certainly an amazing photograph. There was another one by another photographer that was also amazing. I mentioned Stanley Foreman. Stanley Foreman won a Pulitzer with the picture that's in here, but he also had another picture that won a Pulitzer. He actually won 3. It's a photograph of a gentleman named Ted Landsmark. This was sort of in the heyday of racial issues in Boston. And Landsmark is a black gentleman who since gone on to be a college president here, walking across City Hall Plaza and being held as another man comes in and tries to attack him with the eagle on top of an American flagpole. So it's very moving photograph. And just, a lot of what we're looking at in all these pictures, especially the journalism ones, is photojournalism at its absolute best. Split seconds in time. You're a second late, you're a second early, and you're 2 steps out of position. And I think so much of what we do as photojournalists is we capture the moment, but hopefully we have a news sense so we know where to go to hopefully be in the right place to capture the moments.
Absolutely. Ron, how about you? Any photographs you think that Time missed in this series?
No, I was really happy with the selection. You've got 100 photographs. That's a real lot of photographs. Now there's a few that I thought, okay, for example, the selfie. What's his name? Bradley Cooper's selfie. I could have done without it, I suppose. I'm sure they could have thought of something else, but in a way, I understand their rationale. This was the most shared photograph ever, something like that. So, okay. You got 100 photographs. I guess you can have one selfie.
Well, I think it recognizes a shift in an era where, the selfie is the, photo du jour that most people nowadays take. If you're going to have a camera, you're a novice or you've never used a camera before, your first camera is more than likely going to be now a cell phone, and more than likely going to have a front-facing camera. And probably the first picture most people take, I would assume, is going to be a selfie. So I think it resonates with the fact that this is sort of the culture.
Without selfies?
I don't know. It's like, how do we live without the internet,
It's a very different world of being a journalist. I mean, there was, a piece in here, I'm trying to remember which one of the images, but talking about how long it took for the picture to get to be published and how many airplanes were involved.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to remember which one I read that about.
Remember back in the old days when if you wanted to share a photograph of yourself, you had to, set the camera up on a tripod, put it on a timer, take the picture, go down to your local photo mat, get it developed, make all the prints, mail the prints to each individual person. Man, the old days. The only photograph I can see on here that I would have probably included that I think is an omission is the one photograph from the Oklahoma City bombing with the firefighter holding the baby. That's probably the only omission I can think of. Beyond that, perhaps some other 9/11 shots. I think obviously the Falling Man is very impactful.
Amazing.
Probably the most impactful, but there were so many amazing photographs from that day. It must have been really hard to be like, this is the one, Yeah. I mean, there's the shot of the church in front of the Twin Towers, at the explosion point. That was an amazing photograph. So, I mean, it was probably extremely tough. I got to imagine. I'd love to talk to the people who made this selection and just be like, what was it like in that room? How many fistfights had to go on for you to come down and narrow it down to 100?
Yeah, I mean, I just can't imagine to say we're going to take photography as a whole. We're going to pick 100 photographs.
Right.
Having judged a number of photo contests, I mean, just starting with, 1 year's worth of work of a group of photographers and trying to get that down to, 8 or 12 first place pictures for each category and then best of show.
Yeah.
Can take days. How long does it take for them to judge, POII? Or World Press. World Press takes, a couple of weeks to judge. And
Not easy.
all they had to judge was all the images ever made. So,
Yeah. It takes me. It's hard enough for me to narrow down selects from a photo shoot with my family in the park. So I can imagine this project.
There's that saying about editing your own work.
Yeah.
Steve Liss has a saying, he who edits his own work is a fool for an editor. I mean, I can give you my work and you'll probably edit it down in like 2 minutes. But if I'm editing it, then I have something personally invested in it. And me anyway, it becomes harder to edit. I'm not one of those photographers, and to the credit of the Wire guys, they're amazing at this. But because half of them like to machine gun everything.
Exactly.
And then they still get a picture out in a few seconds. I couldn't do that.
Yeah, I'll sometimes have to take a break from my shoot and then come back just to give myself a little bit of separation.
Oh, I agree.
Between first selects and second selects, but not easy.
We're not Wire guys. They don't have the luxury of that, and it's interesting. I mean, even doing magazine work now.
Yeah.
They expect everything sort of immediately. It may not be within the first 3 minutes of an event, but it used to be when you'd be out shooting in the days that we shot slide film, which for me personally was my favorite time, because our job was to figure out how to get there to make the picture, get to the location, be there at the right moment when the moment happens, capture it. And of course, you were shooting slide film, so there was none of this, we'll fix it later. Either you did it or you didn't do it. But then when you were done, you put it on an envelope, sight unseen. You didn't process it. You just threw it in an envelope, and you called the courier, and you were done.
Yep.
And then the next week, you opened the magazine and hoped you had something in it.
Yeah.
And you had time to, rejuvenate. People on the road all the time, that doesn't exist anymore. The 24-hour news cycle for the correspondent is 24-hour news cycle. Ron, as I'm sure you know, and you're part of the business.
24 hours.
Yeah.
I'd love to see a follow-up feature to this, showing photographs that didn't make the top 100. I think that'd be an interesting feature. I think they did a little bit of that, for instance, in the milk shot. They show other associated photos from his work, but obviously explaining that this is the best one. But it'd be neat to see what made the cutting room floor, so to speak, because it's always interesting when I watch a photo judging a photo contest judging, and the photos that are beautiful, magnificent shots, then the judges go, no, next, take that out.
Yeah.
It must have been. Yeah, exactly. So it must have been definitely a interesting experience, and a bunch of people in a room be like, "What? You're not that photo?"
It's very interesting to talk to the folks who did it. Anyway, I think overall they did a terrific job.
No, absolutely, I agree. Go check that out. All right, well, let's go and finish up with our last topic of the evening. There's a Kickstarter right now for a project that is going to use RFIDs to keep your camera gear in position, so to speak. So if you ever find yourself heading out the door and you've forgotten a lens or your camera body or memory card or whatnot, this new invention allows you to essentially attach RFID sensors to your equipment and then use another lipstick size device that essentially will transmit to your phone to let you know what you have in your bag. So it's a pretty neat. It's on Kickstarter right now. They've raised $27,000 from over 200 backers. No, wait, I'm sorry. That's another project. This project called Gear Eye. This project is, I think, out now, or it should be out soon. Okay, so they're raising funds on Kickstarter right now. They've already eclipsed their initial goal of $60,000. So they're doing pretty good. What do you guys think of this technology? Is this something you would use in your kit?
Would you like me to start?
Whoever would like to start.
Sure. Well, I'd say it's funny about this thing because being in Boston, I live right up the street from MIT. So to drop back a little bit about, the last topic about Doc Edgerton's picture of the milk drops, you can go right up to where his office was and go see all the original old strobes, and a lot of those pictures are hanging on the wall. Another idea that came out of a shoot at MIT a number of years ago was doing a story for People magazine on a Professor Ted Selker. And Ted was doing a lot of the really early work with RFID. And we were photographing the kitchen of the future. And Ted was telling me, well, soon you're going to be able to just, go to your grocery store and call up your refrigerator and see how old the milk is or if you need milk. And I'm thinking, this is the most ridiculous thing. And I said, well, look, if you're going to do this, can we make this so I can put one of these little dots on my lenses so when I lose them, I can find them? And he said, yeah, we can do that. So that was a lot of years ago. I think it's terrific. I personally, we try really hard not to leave our stuff, but occasionally it happens. And I think it'd be terrific to track all your gear. Yeah. It's interesting when I teach people, one of the things I tell them, at this point in time, what the best insurance you can get on your equipment is? Whoops. Go take go see the label? Go take a label, put your name and your cell phone number on everything, and it'll probably come back. That said, you won't be able to track it. So I think this is kind of a cool idea. Not just still equipment, but for any expensive toy. Piece of equipment.
Yeah. Well, it's like what Casey Neistat does, who, if you've been following our show, he's a prolific blogger who just stopped vlogging actually a few days ago. But he would actually inscribe on all his equipment, everything he owned, essentially that, his name, address, and, do the right thing, send it back. So interesting that you mentioned that. What do you think about this stuff, Ron? Is this something you'll invest in?
Well, since my gear has gone down considerably from what I used to carry, it's not that important to me. I don't have that many pieces of gear I carry anymore.
Basically the camera, right?
Yeah, right, yeah. It does sound very interesting. Of course, I'm not going to knock technology because, time marches on and we're all going to see improvements. It would be very nice to have everything tagged and you could just at a glance see if everything was still in proximity. So it sounds like wonderful technology that I'm sure a lot of guys will be using as long as it's priced right. I don't see how they can go wrong with this project.
Yeah. I think it's a neat idea. Initially, when I saw it, I was like, well, I have no use for that. But then in trying to get ready for this show, I am missing a small piece of gear that I need for my tripod. If you're watching this on YouTube and wonder why my video looks different than it normally does, it's because I'm using my camera's webcam on my computer, not my actual camera, which I would normally set up on a tripod in front of me, because I'm missing a very tiny little dongle piece that screws into the bottom of the camera that allows me to secure it into the tripod. So because I'm missing that, I can't set up that show like that. So having this would be, it wouldn't solve the problem because I don't have the piece with me. But if I knew it was supposed to be in there, I could, check to see if I had it before. Obviously, I left. I was on vacation for the last week. So hopefully it's not still in Florida. But, would I get this? I don't know. It's definitely a neat piece of kit. And I think at the minimum, it helps you remember what you're supposed to have. But I think most people have a pretty standard kit and should know at least the big chunks are in there. The lenses, the cameras, and stuff like that. So I don't know. Again, like I said, if it's priced right, maybe it's just something that is just a little piece of insurance. If it's something that's cheap enough it's not going to cost you much, and it's just going to be an extra little added piece of insurance to make sure you have your stuff, then I think it could be well done, and it could be popular and successful. So we'll see how that goes.
For us, our kit changes depending on the job. So there is sort of no standard kit. So it can range from a small camera bag and a couple of cameras, or no camera bag and a couple of cameras and a extra lens and a pouch, to the ones that we call 20 casers. When we go in and we're doing an ad and we're bringing 20 plus cases of gear, and we find on big shoots, you not only need the gear that you're working with, you need the backups for that gear. Because in the middle of a major shoot, you can't say, wait while I run to the car and get another one. It's got to be there. So, for those of us that sometimes have been known to carry too much gear, I think it sounds terrific. Yeah. Either that or just hire another assistant, whichever is cheaper.
There you go. I think that this system allows you to sort of set up different kits. Like for instance, the ad shows like nature shoot. So perhaps you can have one for, nature shoot or ad shoot or whatnot. But yeah, if you have 20 boxes, that's going to be quite cumbersome to have like 20 of these things, one in each box. But in theory, if you could check them all simultaneously and know that you have all your gear in there, probably give you a little peace of mind when you're leaving a shoot, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
interesting idea.
We'll see where the technology develops, but you can back it now if you want to back up something on Kickstarter. I'm a little bit hesitant on Kickstarter projects since the last few ones I backed weren't bad, but they weren't the best. So I'll probably wait till this is a full and true product, and that you can people review it before I make any sort of just purchase decisions. But all right, well, that pretty much wraps up our show for today. Ron, what do you got for us in terms of people can reach you?
Oh, sure. I thought we were doing pick of the week. Okay. You can always find me here on Around the Lens weekly. Just about.
Pretty much.
Yeah, pretty much. Apart from that, I do prep my my way for people to get in touch lately. My Instagram is Ron Photo Hawaii, where you can see pictures that I have taken mostly in Hawaii.
Awesome. Well, I'm not doing the pick of the week segment anymore, but if you have a pick of the week, you're more than welcome to spout it out.
Why not, man? Well, I just I would like to let people know, maybe they don't know about it, and that is Rangefinder Magazine. Maybe a few folks have heard of it. It's the official magazine of WPPI, and it's free. You can actually you can get the online version for free. There's an Android app, probably an iPhone app too, I don't know, but I have Android. I have an Android app. And you have a physical magazine they mail to you monthly, Rangefinder Magazine. It's a good quality magazine. It's not full of a bunch of ads. Well, it's got as much ads as any other magazine, I suppose, but it's not an ad fest. There's actual articles in it, and it's free, so why not?
Nice.
If you guys are looking for a nice magazine about photography, I prefer to get free ones. So.
I'm down with that. Hey, Ron, how about we start the Around the Lens magazine? You want to take that on? And I think we lost Ron. Okay, perfect timing. All right. Rick, where can people find you at, Rick?
Oh, it's simple. You can find me at rickfriedman.com. And for those of you who don't know how it's spelled, it's Friedman. You can follow us on Facebook at Rick Friedman, and on Twitter and Instagram at Rick Friedman Pics. And like I said, we'll be teaching some lighting workshops down at Unique Photo the December 9th through the 11th, and then January 11th through 14th, I'll be at SWPP convention in London.
Ooh.
And let me see, where are we after that? We'll be at Harwin Camera in New York City in early March. And let me see, I think I'm forgetting somebody. Oh, I am. I've got an event here in Boston in late March. But you can follow the workshops on rickfriedman.com. We post them as soon as we have them. My lighting workshops are really hands-on. Come play with the toys. And we also we write a lighting blog, which we call Tuesday's Tips. And the original idea was to do it every Tuesday, but I don't actually do them every Tuesday. But you can follow the information on that. And it's been terrific being with you all. Thank you. And Ron, it's a pleasure to meet you.
Very good. Nice meeting you too, Rick.
Thank you.
Rick, you mentioned the workshops, and I've always wondered, is that something, are you driving the locations and dates of your workshops, or are people, I guess, commissioning you to do workshops? How does that work?
That question is yes.
So it could be either one.
Yep.
Okay.
I think, Ron, we need to do one out your way.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, we definitely need to do one out your way. So, yeah. People
come down to Biloxi, Mississippi and do a workshop down here. I'll have you on the show live.
I think it'd be terrific. People tell me, there aren't that many lighting workshops down your way. No. So,
you could corner that market.
We could, yeah. The subtitle of our workshops is Lighting and Laughing. And we have a great time doing them. If you take a look on the website, there's a whole series of photographs on the lighting page, the workshop page. On each workshop we call Silly Group Photograph, which I have to admit started out that I wanted to prove that I actually had a student. And has grown to be very much part of the curriculum, where I challenged the group to come up as a group with a really fun, silly picture, and then we have to figure out how to do it. And we have a great time doing them. And lots of lights and lots of colored gels. And I think you all know that I created a lighting kit for Roscoe, who are the folks that make the color gels. So there's a Rick Friedman location lighting kit. So we do lots of projected backgrounds and color gels and a lot of fun stuff. So hopefully folks will come join us at one of these. Or we're going to bring it to your house, Ron. And then we'll bring it to your house. We'll do a tour. We'll do the Around the Lens tour.
I like it. Sponsored by Around the Lens.
There you go.
Rick Friedman World Tour, sponsored by Around the Lens.
Perfect.
Someday. All right. Well, this has been Around the Lens, episode 52. I've been your host, David J. Murphy. You can find me at djmphoto.com or, of course, our website, aroundthelens.com. I want to thank our panelists, Rick Friedman and Ron Hamilton, for being on the show tonight. Thank you so much for taking time to do this. Please follow, like, stalk us via multiple social media methods. Go to Facebook and everything, and be a friend, be a subscriber. We always love anyone who's interested and a fan of the show. So this is, again, has been Around the Lens, episode 52, and we're out.